How's it going, everybody? Happy 11 years of Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. This was supposed to be done this time last year, you know, when Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire turned 10. But, as you guys know in the update video, I was going through a little bit of a tussle in my brain and my life. And I didn't really remember recording this video 2 other times. This is the 3rd time I'm doing it. First time I did it was last year after I beat the game. The second time I did it was this year, but then these cameras were too bright and everything was a mess. And now we're here. 3rd time's the charm. I hope, all that to be said, this is my 10-year anniversary of Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire video, just like I did the Pokemon X and Y 10-year anniversary, because I just like Gen 6, and I just like Gen 3. With all that out of the way, let's get into the game. I did this playthrough just like I did the X and Y playthrough, where I picked up the game, for this case, Pokemon Omega Ruby, and I played through it as if I were playing through it for the first time. I played Pokemon Alpha Sapphire the first time, and that was back in 2015, 2016, when the game came out. I actually didn't get it on release. A friend of mine gifted it to me later, and that's how I played it, and I didn't beat it immediately, which is a trend for me. So this time around, I had picked up a copy of Omega Ruby a couple years ago, and I thought, you know what? Forget it. Let's do it on Omega Ruby since I did Y for X and Y. Let's do the other red option for ORAS. And I had a lot of fun. Again, I hadn't picked up Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire since I beat Alpha Sapphire way back in the day. Not for lack of it being bad, per se, just there were other games that I was playing. By the time I would have played ORAS again, rather, I was still playing X and Y. And I was doing the Ultimate Umbreon videos where I was playing a bunch of GBA and DS games because that was all my computer could run at the time. This time around, I went and just played through Omega Ruby, which is the 6th gen remake of Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, which were the Hoenn generation, or Gen 3 on the Game Boy Advance. And those were some of my first games as a kid that were my own. Actually, Pokemon Emerald was the first Pokemon game that I beat completely on my own, and as I said in the X and Y video, how I sob at the end of every Pokemon game, I sobbed at the end of that one. Like a baby, to the point where my mom had to actually come and check on me and make sure I was okay. So going into this review, I had a lot of stakes because I like Hoenn. I like Gen 3, and this game definitely stood the test of time. Just with X and Y, Pokemon ORAS did bring a couple new things to the table. Mainly new megas. We did get quite a few new megas, some of those being Beedrill, Pidgeot, Slowbro, Steelix, and what I was looking forward to the most, the other 2 Gen 3 starters. Because if you remember during Pokemon X and Y, if you pre-ordered the game, you got a free Blazikenite, Mega Blaziken Torchic with Speed Boost, and that was how a good chunk of us played the game, because that thing was fucking overpowered. It being a remake does mean that it takes most of the same story elements as Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, with a couple things sprinkled in, like the redesigns of Maxie and his crew, and Archie and his crew. Archie definitely getting the better of the 2 glow-ups, just because Archie's hot, and the Team Aqua people are hot, for the most part. Maxie's just a fucking dork. There's no other way that I can say it. Maxie's just a fucking dork. But it's cool. It's fine. You know, I like him. I liked that I played Omega Ruby. Do I think that Kyogre's cooler? Yeah. Do I think that Team Aqua's cooler? Yeah. On top of it being some of the same story elements, where, you know, Steven takes you and tells you the history of Hoenn and the trio of Hoenn and all that shit. He also starts bringing in how Mega Evolution, and for this game's new innovation, Primal Reversion, because they're going back in time instead of going forward. He shows through multiple places throughout Hoenn that it was baked into their story and their mythos. Kind of like it was in Kalos, but here it seems more intentional. Even if they were like shoehorned in quotation marks, the way that they implemented them into the story was pretty cool, because, you know, the whole reason for Kyogre and Groudon to be in such a hellish state is because of the orbs that revert them into their primal state. Which then makes me beg the question, if Kyogre and Groudon are primal reversions, why is Rayquaza a Mega Evolution? That was, you know, something that was added in the story of this game was the Delta episode, which was just this whole little, I think, hour, 2 hours of backstory of this dragon tribe who wanted to bring back Rayquaza, and there was only one person who could talk to Rayquaza, and it was fucking sick, but it kind of didn't make sense as to why Rayquaza can only Mega Evolve, but the other two can Primal Revert, and it's like, if they're all supposed to be there together, then why the... It's a mess. However, the reason in which Rayquaza can Mega Evolve, one of the funniest things in the world, if you're familiar with the story of Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald at all, you know that there is this historical beef between Deoxys and Rayquaza. Well, in the Delta episode, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire storyline, Rayquaza hates Deoxys so much, he learns a move specifically to Mega Evolve and point blank Hyper Beam Rayquaza. You know, like he did in the movie where he's just like, hey, what's up, fool? This is that times 10, which was just kind of fucking cool. On top of, you know, the additives of the story, it kind of brought us closer to the first Pokemon storyline that had a real romantic partnership between the rivals. Now, I'm sure you know, having watched this channel at least once, in the Pokemon Books video, I spoke about how much I loved the Pokemon Adventures manga. And in the Pokemon Adventures manga for the Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald area, May and Brayden are a couple. They openly say in the original translation that they love each other. Then Viz kind of fucked it up, but it's beside the point. They are a thing. And I like that, for all intents and purposes, at the end of the Delta episode where you're sitting there under the meteor shower, May and Brayden are a couple. You can tell me otherwise, you're just wrong. Hate to break it to you, you're just wrong, because they are. Story out of the way, gameplay does take a lot from Pokemon X and Y, because it's Gen 6. Every generational remake takes from the generation that it's being remade in. In Oris, we'll get the new Megas. I've said it like 5 times at this point. Here they all are. I don't want to name them all off. They're right here. But along with the new Megas and the pretty similar battle system, we do get Pokemon Ami and Super Training back, which help a lot in Sylveon-ing and just training your Pokemon without having to do the, let me battle this same Pokemon 15,000 fucking times so I can get the right levels and all the bullshit. But we also got the Eon Flute, which, if you remember in Ruby and Sapphire, the Eon Ticket was a little e-reader promo that you could get to get Latios and Latias in your game. However, we don't have an e-reader because it's the 3DS, so what they give us instead is the Eon Flute, which, along with just, you know, letting you go to the island where you can catch either Latios or Latias in your game, so long as you have the Mega Stone, you can summon the Eon Flute and soar through all of Hoenn, which I think is the coolest thing ever, because it kind of defeats the purpose of using Fly as a TM or like having a flying Pokemon, because you can just soar around. So I don't even think they have to be on your team. Mine was on my team the entire game just because I love them. They're just good Pokemon, and mine was named Anakin because look at me. Really and truthfully, that about wraps it up. It was a short video, but you know, these 10-year anniversary videos aren't inherently long for me. Usually, I think the X and Y one was like 17 minutes. Taking this game again in a new light, and by a new light, I mean a light that actually understands how to play Pokemon, unlike I did like 10 years ago. I know that status moves are good. I got a new appreciation for Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, just like I got a new appreciation for X and Y. And that was, they're really, really fucking good games. I liked them before, I love them now. And I think that'll be a recurring theme throughout all of these game review, lengthy, anniversary, whatever videos, where I'm picking up a game that I hadn't played in a decade and playing it again as if I had never played it again, and that was just a lot of fun. I will say, my biggest gripe is the gyms 3, 4, and 5, how it's just back to back to back, and there's not really a big set of level scaling there. It's just, hey, fuck you, you're at the gym. You can decline that, but even if you decline that, the level scaling is still gonna be the same, and it's still kind of shit. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna try. Pinky promise. I said it in the update video. I mean it this fucking time. I mean it. I'm gonna do my best to upload as many videos this year as possible across all of the channels. I've missed creating more than you can ever imagine, and I'm just really happy to be back. So, with all that being said, I didn't pay an animator enough to animate this part of the video, but I am gonna put up February's thumbnail and imagine me as Goku flying off on the Shenron that is Rayquaza. Peace, guys.